So, this is a new video, almost a new video. We released that 7 days ago. And the name is How World Warcraft Became Unstoppable. It's a little long video, but I think as a new player and as we don't have context, a lot of context about the story of WoW, maybe we can be good to understand what happened in 20 years of WoW, because we are new, so maybe we can watch them. I'm going to put my camera in other side, only to watch the video, and we can start like this. Yeah, so
To be honest, retail WoW is dead.
Yeah, the world of Warcraft is dead.
World of
Please
Warcraft is
use
dead. WoW
fields
is
below Common to based.
you can see this. Oh my god, Templario, thank you for your bits. Really thank you for your bits. I really appreciate that. I'm really appreciate that. So I am like, I just finished the campaign. I'm just finished the main campaign. I am so excited about to play more about WoW, and then the start of the video is like, WoW is dead.
I'm gonna be honest. Retail WoW is dead.
Yeah, the world of Warcraft is dead.
World of Warcraft is dead.
WoW is dead.
No one plays World of Warcraft.
Stop holding on to it.
WoW is just actively getting worse.
World of Warcraft is one of the longest lasting and most popular games in the world that people couldn't get enough of.
World of Warcraft, I need to play!
Yet since it released, it's been predicted to fail year after year after year.
Make WoW great again.
But how can a game that got 10 expansions in 20 years, over 12 million people's credit cards to play every single month, and the world's biggest Hollywood stars completely addicted, be dying?
On the topic of your World of Warcraft obsession, at what point did you realize that you were in too deep and needed to quit cold turkey?
When my agent would sign on to talk to me.
According to the
What?
sales, World of Warcraft was far from dead. So I wanted to learn how it was somehow able to survive decades while newer quadruple A games could barely make it a week. I mean, this one didn't even make it a day.
The crew is gathering. Would you like to join us for game night?
But to find Blizzard's real secret, we'd have to go back to the beginning.
Oh my god, such a good intro.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably a little too far back, isn't it?
Yes.
1 second. There we go. But obviously this isn't World of Warcraft, and that's because to truly understand WoW, we need to talk about EverQuest, a massively multiplayer online fantasy game that Blizzard employees couldn't get enough of. See, for most of us in the 90s, multiplayer meant split screen on GoldenEye, no odd jobs allowed. But EverQuest didn't feel like multiplayer, it felt like a home. Which gives the guys at Blizzard an idea. You see, they were such huge fans of EverQuest that they could see all the problems the game had. For example, if a player died, they'd have to walk all the way back to their body without any of their gear to protect them. Or, if they were killed by another player, that player could take one of their hard-earned items to keep forever. And regardless of how the player died, their experience would drop for every death. Meaning if you put yourself in a tricky situation, you could lose hours, if not days of experience. So while developing Warcraft 3, Blizzard decides it's time they craft their own MMO. It'd be a new world filled with wars that they could call their own. Sure, some folks called it strategic inspiration, but most folks called it... Now at this point, Blizzard's just released 3 of the world's greatest games within half the time Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development. Look, I don't know what was in the water at Blizzard, but it was clearly working. Because when you saw a game with this logo on it, it basically guaranteed you were getting a Ratatouille moment. And World of Warcraft was no different because everyone was playing it.
We're fans. I am an orc shaman.
Oh my god.
And Tom is an orc warrior.
You see, Blizzard's really good at one thing
What?
most game developers seem to ignore.
Did you recognize her? It's like the Freaky Friday mom. I don't remember the name of her, but she was like dressed like as an orc. Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. What the fuck? And before that, Mila Kunis. I didn't know that.
Where everyone else seeks to over-design new concepts or ideas, Blizzard does the exact opposite, seeking to simplify what already works.
Really opening up what had been a relatively niche genre to the broader audience of gamers from all walks of life.
For example, in World of Warcraft, players were split into two morally gray factions of Alliance or Horde, with each faction getting their own playable races, building on the tribal nature humans already have. You see, for the Alliance, you could play as Night Elves, Gnomes, Dwarves, or humans. Whereas the Horde had cows that turned to cats, religious hulks, Jamaican avatar people with tusks, and what I could only describe as people who comment skill issue. You know who you are. But they go further by fixing every problem they found in EverQuest so that their game would be as accessible as possible for anyone to play.
You can't go to the bathroom, you're stacking Sunder armor.
Iconic Warcraft characters would be interacted with to gain quests that subtly progressed players through new locations. Dying was no longer a scary nightmare of penalties because you could be returned to your body as an invincible ghost. And mounts were provided to make going from place to place the greatest thing ever. But that wasn't all, because WoW built in social features from the start, so raiding a dungeon or making friends was as easy as possible. Hey! However, with all that success came a few problems.
A lot of those first months were spent really just trying to keep
And a few moments ago, I am trying to talk to people and all of them ignore me.
up with demand, just trying to stabilize the
Thank you, Q. And yeah, I know that Henry Cavill plays WoW, but I didn't know that. I mean, I was thinking like he's the only one famous people that play WoW actually.
service to get to a point where players could just come home from work, log in, and not have to wait or not have their servers be down due to load.
Because unlike their previous games, World of Warcraft was a 24/7, always online world millions of people were paying to work every single month, including really powerful people like Superman.
And you were home, but you were playing World of Warcraft, and the phone rings, and you're like, I'll get that later?
Yeah, unless you had a few kryptonite bullets hanging around, downtime was not an option. Now, for context, this game took 8 years, 169 people, and like we said earlier, barely made it a day with the backing of $1 billion Sinister Six obsessed company.
What?
So to keep up with new content, maintenance, customer support, and bug fixing, the WoW team had to be massive. But no, because somehow they made the entire game with 40 people. 40. So naturally, Blizzard employees were feeling a little pressure. Sure, a massive world with accessible gameplay players could socialize in was part of the reason for World of Warcraft's longevity, but keeping the game up and running for millions of people to play any second of the day? Yeah, that seemed like something they needed to solve. After 3 exhausting years, Blizzard hired a ton of new devs, fixed a ton of problems, and now morale's a lot higher. Sort of. But with this expansion, Blizzard's feeling confident that they know exactly why players loved World of Warcraft. Because with the Burning Crusade, they add 2 new playable races right out the gate. High fantasy blood elves for the Horde and what look like space goats for the Alliance. The game gets the level cap bumped from 60 to 70, and flying mounts are added for the very first time.
Yeah. We had to figure out how to let characters fly.
Except what's most interesting is Blizzard does something new that pushes the game to the next level. You see, Warcraft 3 was beloved by everyone who played it, specifically because of its story and amazing characters. So in this expansion, they bring back one of those amazing characters, Illidan frickin' Stormrage. I mean, just look at that guy. He looks frickin' goose-tastic. But that's not all, because they also made getting to the expansion's new zone a historic event.
Oh my god!
You see, this was back when World of Warcraft was a full-time job. So the day that the expansion hits, players from all over the world collectively take a sick day to gather around this portal, the Dark Portal.
What are your symptoms?
I have the chills, I'm feeling nauseous, and my head's killing.
And the beauty of the Dark Portal was the second that the expansion released, it'd be open for everyone to experience at the same time. It didn't matter if you were a blood elf or a space goat. Everyone was going to Outland to stop Illidan and the Burning Legion. Quite frankly, when the Burning Legion hit store shelves, everyone's 9-to-5 job went through the same existential crisis.
I'm in danger!
Because it sells 2.4 million copies in the first day and hits a new milestone of 10 million actively paying subscribers.
Look, I'm no mathematician, but that seems like a lot of what Mr. Krabs would call money.
Somehow Blizzard topped the original World of Warcraft in what looked like every way possible.
There was more to do, more to earn, more to seek, more to explore.
From the outside looking in, it looked like World of Warcraft would be safe so long as it focused on expanding the world with great characters players could rally towards. But if that's really all it took, then the real question was, could they do it again?
Wow. Yeah, imagine being in that moment.
Yes, okay, 1000% yes, like it's not even a question. Releasing a year after the Burning Crusade, Blizzard triples down on everything that worked before. First, Blizzard drops a CG trailer that's quite frankly a better movie than what most streaming services put out today. Like, it's been over a decade since this thing dropped and I still go back to rewatch it. Next, they go back to Warcraft 3 one more time to make Arthas the expansion's next villain, who, just to be clear, is Warcraft's most popular character by far.
Probably the...
I mean, we just seen that this release in 28th, so what the fuck, imagine this quality of cinematics in that year, almost like a movie, animated cinematics for a video game in that moment. That's amazing and weird at the same time, because not many companies or enterprises or video games companies making that quality of cinematics for his games.
Ever introduced in Warcraft.
And that's because in Warcraft 3, you got to play as Arthas and watch him slowly transform from a humble prince reigning in chaos.
Can the formalities, Uther. I'm not king yet.
To the Lich King reclaiming his frozen throne. Like, seriously, the story of Arthas is pretty much Breaking Bad, but in the Warcraft universe.
Goddamn right.
Wrath of the Lich King wasn't just another expansion, it was Blizzard proving they knew exactly why players love World of Warcraft. But don't just take my word for it.
Wrath of the Lich King is probably my favorite expansion.
Like, straight up, without a question.
Is the best.
The classes are way better.
Version.
Just infinitely more fun for me to play.
Of the expansion that ever came out.
Wow.
Yeah, Wrath was an awesome time.
And I mean, who could blame them? There was just so much love in this expansion.
It was an honor to be able to come work on the team to help shape the game that I'd loved for so long.
Because they add this new Death Knight hero class any faction can play as, a more customizable dual specialization skill tree to help players build their character exactly as they wanted.
It started as, how do I save action bars?
My first character was a Death Knight, but when you made a Death Knight character, you start like level up. I don't remember in what level you start, and I have a lot of abilities to use, and I was like, what the fuck, I didn't know how to play. What are all of these buttons? So I abandoned that character because I doesn't know how to play it.
And it turned into...
It was 68. Yeah, that was so confusing to me. I still have that character, and it's abandoned in my characters list.
To what it is now.
And build new phasing technology so everyone could immerse themselves seamlessly in live cinematic quests.
This revolutionized the way people played the game, and it remains a linchpin of the game for the past 10 years.
And all this combined made Blizzard's biggest expansion ever, selling 2.8 million copies in just 24 hours and driving WoW subscriptions to an all-time peak of 12 million people.
People are picking up their purchases so they can race home and plug in the game. Chances are this is the last time you're going to see them for quite a while.
Like, for context, that's more than the entire population of Sweden, okay? Which clearly implies that Blizzard's got a lot more money! But Blizzard creates a new problem that even technology couldn't solve. You see, Arthas wasn't just any other villain, because his story started all the way back in Warcraft 3 and was foreshadowed through much of World of Warcraft. He'd always been there, sitting on his throne with what is probably the coolest sword known to man. But after beating Arthas, his story and a huge part of what made Warcraft so special was gone. If World of Warcraft was going to carry on, Blizzard would need to fill the giant void Arthas left behind. But I mean, what do you do after 6 years of setup for the Lich King? I mean, are you going to send some giant dragon with anger issues out of nowhere to completely destroy the entire planet? That'd just be stupid. Well, okay then. Apparently that's exactly what they do. However, during development of World of Warcraft's third expansion, Blizzard gets acquired by one Activision CEO, Bobby Kotick.
Our responsibility is to bring joy and fun to people around the world.
Now, for the next 20 seconds, I have no choice but to speedrun you through the corporate nightmare that is Activision Blizzard, so bear with me because I promise you this is important to World of Warcraft's future. Alright, so in 1991, Blizzard becomes a real company through the power of friendship. Then in 95, a company whose only talent seems to be buying other companies buys Blizzard. But when we hit the 2000s, Bobby's company, Activision, starts making gazillions by spamming the ever-loving bejesus out of their franchises. We're talking your Spider-Man, your Guitar Heroes, your Happy Meal toys, and of course, your Call of Duties.
Work the gloves off? They're off.
Except if you look closely, you'll notice that none of those franchises have an MMO that specializes in what Bobby wants most.
Money!
Now this makes Bobby mad. So in 2008, he merges with the Talentless company to get all of their companies and renames the new company to Activision Blizzard. And now you're probably wondering what the big deal is. Well, as of 2008, nothing. I'll be honest, nothing really happens. But as of 2010, World of Warcraft's next expansion starts to move the game in a different direction. Now on the positive side, having Deathwing, the giant murder dragon, blow up Azeroth turned out to be a really good in-world excuse to modernize a few zones and completely refresh others. In doing so, it creates a more welcoming environment for new players to join in and not feel lost from 6 years of content. Also, they give the Horde goblins to play as, and then they give the Alliance frickin' werewolves. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of in. I mean, who doesn't like werewolves, right? But Blizzard's goal to make the game more friendly for newcomers came with a few unexpected problems. They streamlined raid matchmaking, allowing anyone to just press a button to find a group, which sounds great on paper, but in practice caused newer players unknowingly disrupting what were already impossible raids.
Let's do this. Leroy Dragon!
And sure, they wiped the narrative slate clean with Deathwing's angry fire, but that just caused the connection to the story to feel like it came out of nowhere. And surprisingly, the problem with the biggest repercussions came from the in-game mounts.
StarCraft II Wings of Liberty made less money than the first Sparkle Pony horse in World of Warcraft. A $15 microtransaction horse made more money than StarCraft II.
Yeah. And unsurprisingly, this left a lot of fans with foresight for the future feeling salty.
Fucking best mount in the game. I don't even care. I don't even care. This makes me mad.
See, previously you'd buy World of Warcraft and the expansion, pay a monthly sub, and away you went.
Excited. Very excited.
This, albeit an unintuitive strategy, financially incentivized Blizzard to make great content because if they didn't, then no one would buy the expansion, which of course would put them in a lot of trouble. Except with this new microtransaction-based strategy, that was no longer the case. Because if they were able to make something in 5 minutes with one person that outsold something that takes an entire department to make in 7 years, well,
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Regardless, Cataclysm sold a record-breaking 3.3 million copies in a single day and regained 10 of the 12 million subscribers that Arthas gave Blizzard. So technically, World of Warcraft was safe.
I'm gonna go home for the heck out of this thing.
But when we look closer, we can see players weren't as satisfied as they once were. Sure, Azeroth was completely revamped, but no one really experienced it necessarily. Players just sort of logged in and, oh, I guess I spawn here now. Also, the whole murder dragon that destroys the entire planet narrative, it just kind of fizzles out like a Disney movie, which it isn't even a bit. It straight up has the same castle and firework ending.
You are Azeroth's true guardians, and the future of this world is in your hands.
Who greenlit that? But let's be real, okay? After amazing expansions like Burning Crusade or The Wrath of the Lich King,
feels great.
players were fine tolerating a so-so expansion.
I've been waiting long enough. 10.5-hour shift to work, 6-hour wait for the game. It's a good day.
Because they knew Blizzard was cooking the next big expansion with awesome characters who used crazy magic, wielded the sickest swords, or whatever the heck Green Jesus is apparently capable of. You see, after taking down Benedict Cumberbatch, the world was hyped for whatever insane, muscle-bound, fire-breathing Warcraft setting Blizzard was cooking next.
No.
Is this actually the game? Okay, so apparently pandas are in. Now, while this is 1000% a curveball, Miss Pandaria came packed with a surprising amount of goodies.
It's not Dragon Ibris, people. Oh my god.
First off, Master Shifu is beyond thrilled. Next, the game adds the Pandarin as a faction-fluid playable race capable of using the new Monk class, which is a first for the series. They center the game's theme around Chinese culture and architecture that, quite frankly, looks incredible. And lastly, they add a Pokemon pet battle system.
So here's a look at what it would look like. This is just a mock-up.
That is great.
Okay, I won't lie, the new direction is a little surprising, but it looks like it technically still works. I mean, the expansion sells 2.7 million copies in just a week and returns the sub count right back to 10 million. So yeah, Mists of Pandaria is technically a success. But
imagine have an average of 10 million of subscribers each expansion. Like, that is your average. So crazy. Crazy.
if you're like me, you might be wondering why the heck Blizzard would go from something like this to this.
The pet battle system takes all pets and merges them into a Pokemon-like system of turn-based combat, collection, and leveling.
Yeah, paying 15 a month.
Well, it turns out North America wasn't the only one who loved World of Warcraft, because when you look at the subscription data, you can see China accounted for a huge piece of that pie. With that in mind, the idea to embrace Chinese culture starts making a ton of sense. And in fairness, pandas were technically a thing in Warcraft 3.
I bring pandemonium!
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, they were kind of awesome. However, even though this expansion had a lot of interesting features, it also marked the beginning of a bigger shift in Blizzard's design. The game was now more accessible, more vibrant, and more colorful.
They looked at it and said, this isn't the Warcraft I know. The Warcraft I know is about orcs and humans and dragons, and this feels like a different game. This feels almost childish.
It supported more gimmicky features like the pet battle system, meant to bring in a newer, younger audience.
I feel like they just kind of gave it a theme to attract more players that are new to the game, but it's not so much for experienced players that are already in it.
And that monetization train? Well, it didn't seem to be slowing down any time soon. Make no mistake, Mists of Pandaria seems to be a solid expansion by all accounts, but its direction seemed to be drifting World of Warcraft further away from what appealed to the core fans.
Like I don't know a single person that's saying, oh, pandas, I'm gonna play this game for the pandas.
A mistake Hollywood forced Blizzard to fix in the next expansion. We are halfway through World of Warcraft's expansion, and it looks like this one's gonna be a big return to what made Warcraft Warcraft. I mean, look at this trailer.
We will never be slaves!
It's packed with so much testosterone that even Joe Rogan wants in on it.
Oh yeah, it's gone ballistic.
Now this change clearly worked because Warlords of Draenor sells a record-breaking 3.3 million copies in a single day and brings those juicy subscriptions right back up to 10.5 million players.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
So Blizzard's gotta be feeling pretty good, right? Well, not exactly. You see, World of Warcraft started getting so huge that around this time, Hollywood's working on an official movie, and to capitalize on all of that player hype, they decide to set that movie in a date and time 90% of players were completely unaware of. So to help fans unaware of the movie's incredibly strange timeline choice, Blizzard sets this expansion in an alternate timeline 35 years in the past. That's right, somehow World of Warcraft, the fantasy game,
now has time travel. Okay?
What's wrong with you? So, quick recap. At this point in World of Warcraft story, you've stopped Illidan, Arthas, Smaug, and you've imprisoned some new Orc war chief, Garrosh Hellscream, for being kind of evil. Well, in this expansion, Garrosh magically escapes and somehow travels back in time to stop his dad, Grommash Hellscream, heck of a name by the way, from drinking this demon blood and
also turning evil.
And together, as definitely not evil people, the two team up to build the Iron Horde in order to take over Azeroth. Now, do you have any idea how much World of Warcraft lore I had to read to find out why a giant bald orange orc man was capable of using time travel in a world that looked like Middle-earth? Because the answer was too much. And what's worse is, it doesn't even seem to matter.
This makes me mad.
Because everything about this expansion seems to just implode on itself with barely any content, causing subscription numbers to fall off a frickin' cliff. So in fear of losing more subscribers, Blizzard just decides to give up halfway through and focus on the next expansion. Which, like, okay, sure, but now, like me, you're probably wondering what the heck this expansion even did. Well, it updates the character models to look less nightmare-y and brings the magic of the Sims games to World of Warcraft through a new base building feature that they call garrisons.
The garrison was a persistent space of your own in the world that you could customize as you saw fit.
Because as you can probably tell, people who like this...
I'm coming up with 32.33, repeating of course, percentage of survival.
And people who like this... would clearly be the same person.
I mean, I am the same person.
Also, for roughly the same price as the expansion itself, players can now pay to boost any character to level 90 or buy in-game gold, which is the game's currency, with real money using a new currency called the WoW token.
It's a way for players to exchange with each other time for in-game currency.
I fundamentally love when games add multiple levels of currency to their game. It's always a great sign. Always. Because why play years of critically acclaimed content when you can just buy your way through with zero context of what's actually happening? Now, how do players take this? Not well. In fact, the only positive thing I could find about Warlords of Draenor seems to be the Joe Rogan trailer. Like I said before, after players saw how little content the expansion really had, subscriptions fell so far that Blizzard just stopped reporting them altogether. To this day, no one knows the official subscription numbers because of how bad this expansion bombed.
This expansion was terrible. Almost all of the tier list videos have "this is the worst."
Then something new happened.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Fire!
Oh, fire! Oh my goodness!
See, those subscriptions, they just kept falling. And falling. And falling. Shut up. This is emergency.
Oh, this is the expansion. I didn't play this expansion, but did you remember that I am trying to farm an outfit for a dungeon? The outfit that I want is from this expansion.
Okay, so in an act of what looks very much like desperation, Blizzard goes back to the drawing board and basically tries to recreate all of these expansions while simultaneously trying to forget these. Which causes them to bring Illidan back using the magic of plot and drop one of the sickest trailers they've had in a long time. I mean, everything about that trailer is just mwah, so it has to be good, right? Well, the answer is yes, because Blizzard pulls out all the frickin' stops. They bring back Burning Crusade's Illidan. They add a new Demon Hunter class like they did in Lich. They add new artifact weapons to let players craft iconic Warcraft weapons for themselves. Wow. They add the giant and beautiful city of Suramar to explore. And because the Burning Legion is back, they add super cool invasions that happen sporadically in the world that anyone can take part of.
That was such uber ponage.
I mean, this was one of the first expansions I ever had, and like, I remember going in, you'd see the invasions, and everything was just sick, and you felt like you were part of something, and it was like, it felt awesome. Legion is sick. So it's not a shock whatsoever to see that Legion sells 3.3 million copies in a single day, proving that World of Warcraft was not only back, but it was safe once again. Finally, Blizzard devs could see their families again.
They did it! Our world is saved!
Except, despite how much Legion did right, and believe me, it did a lot of things right, World of Warcraft was turning 12 years old, and with all that age came a lot of bloat. Overly complicated systems dedicated to the most hardcore players, an influx of microtransactions in 20 different currencies, and social features being somehow eradicated in favor of more accessibility.
In an effort to achieve more accessibility, we kind of removed some of the reasons why you needed to play with the same group of people over and over.
You see, the direction Blizzard started with Cataclysm and through other expansions had finally caught up with them. Their audience was no longer the same audience that they started with.
Yeah, I got the laptop in the car so I can load it on the way, in all honesty.
Because at this point, it looked like they had completely split into different directions. And some of those people started asking questions.
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
No. And by the way, you don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
What? Why do you answer something like that to a fan?
Now, I'm not gonna lie, straight up telling your most dedicated customers at an event that they paid to be at that they were the ones that were actually wrong?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Like, the audacity of that guy that he has lighted that guy. Like, you think you want, but you don't. You think you want the gaslight so strong. Oh my god.
See if it pays off for him.
But despite Blizzard's response of knowing exactly what's best for the average World of Warcraft player, they also realized that maybe they did stray a little far from the old days of Alliance versus Horde.
You are Azeroth's true guardians.
Seriously though, who greenlit that? So, with Battle for Azeroth, their idea is, and please stop me if you've heard this before, to go back to what made Warcraft. I mean, look, even the cover art is a reference to the original Warcraft games. But I'm not gonna lie, there's something I just don't understand in this situation. See, after 14 years of expansions, the Alliance and Horde have overcome the world ending like 7 times. They killed a Lich together, a Demon Hunter, a Lord of the Rings character. They figured out time travel. Oh yeah, and a god the size of a planet stabs the world with his sword. Which, yeah, by the way, that happened. So I guess my question for the whole bringing back the Alliance versus Horde hating each other thing would be, why? Why? Why?
Our responsibility is to bring joy and fun to people around the world.
Now, normally I disagree with Bobby, but when...
The little gasp. Oh my god. The little gasp after that.
Combining the pitch of this expansion with the hype that Legion built, Battle for Azeroth sells a record-breaking 3.4 million copies in its first day. So clearly people wanted this because Battle for Azeroth not only becomes the fastest selling World of Warcraft expansion ever made, but it also becomes the fastest selling PC game ever. Except nothing about this expansion made any sense, because aside from the initial pitch, everything was lame. And if we look back to what worked before, then technically Battle for Azeroth shouldn't even be working. The leader of the Alliance went from the sickest looking dude I've ever seen in my life to someone I can only guess does not like the touch of sand.
It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
The leader of the Horde is now a frickin' banshee that commits genocide because the equivalent of a rude comment, and when she's finally confronted by an army, she just kills the main guy while everyone else watches and then somehow pulls a Team Rocket by blasting off again. So yeah, nothing about this expansion makes any sense. The story feels forced, the community's more split than ever, the leads are basically Looney Tune characters, and the game was the most bloated it had ever been. There had to be more to the story, and it turns out there was. You see, World of Warcraft subscription numbers get leaked for the first time since Draenor, and let me tell you, it's not good. You see, Battle for Azeroth may have brought in sales with a great pitch, but it also dropped World of Warcraft subscription numbers to the lowest point in the game's history. The players had spoken. They weren't happy. And if Blizzard wanted to keep the game alive, they'd have to do something drastic.
Cookies and cream is actually my all-time favorite dessert.
Cheers and cholesterol.
But I understand that for some of you, your favorite flavor is vanilla.
Wow, the classic. Oh my god.
Wow. I mean, to go from the guy who said that everybody else was wrong and that they knew the answer the entire time, only to be that same guy on stage giving them exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
That might be one of the
That's cine. No. Oh my god. No, we have classic. Yeah, you predicted that, Kyo. Well, I mean, you don't need to predict that because we know that, but it's so funny that the same guy presented the same thing.
most embarrassing things I've ever seen. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that players were A-okay with that.
Feels great.
Now, for those of you who don't know, in 2019, Blizzard brings grown men to tears by doing the unthinkable and completely reviving the original World of Warcraft exactly as it was in 2004, which is insane.
Oh, I started tearing up. I really did, and I barely heard about the new expansion.
Because the only other company I can think of that's done anything like this is the Halo guys, and we saw exactly how that turned out, didn't we? It still hurts to this day. But this was a way bigger deal than most people thought, because for the very first time in World of Warcraft history, players could actually compare what Classic did versus what Retail did without any of the magic of nostalgia. It wasn't some theoretical member berry anyone could shrug off anymore. Because the differences were clear. You see, when it came to Classic, World of Warcraft didn't feel like a game to players. It surprisingly seemed to come off more like an early social network with plenty of earnable accolades to show off your hard work.
What got you the role in Twisters? Yeah, I see why you got the role.
Whereas Retail was kind of the complete opposite. It was a mess of microtransactions, confusing plot lines meant to pump subscriber numbers up, and 20 different underlying gameplay systems tailored to multiple highly specific groups of people.
It's just simply not something I'm not interested in anymore.
Seriously, Retail had to maintain the pet battle fans, the garrison fans, the artifact fans, the PvP fans, the PvE fans, the mount fans, the flying mount fans, and raid fanatics who were obsessed with playing the game with hundreds of screen cluttering add-ons. Like, honestly, I'm just amazed that the Blizzard devs are still alive, quite frankly. Except here's the real kicker. It really wouldn't matter which version anyone liked more because Blizzard decides to support them all. If the developers barely saw their families before, it was about to get a lot worse. In 2020, Shadowlands brings the Lich King back, only to be killed instantly so his helmet can open a giant portal to the afterlife. In 2021, everyone calls in sick again to experience the Dark Portal one more time.
Okay, move slower. I need to say something. Oh my god. In 2020 is the first time that I play WoW, the expansion of Shadowlands, and I remember that are so many people in the first day of the expansion. Even I need to make a queue to play WoW, and Silver breaks me to the expansion and all of that. But I just say that before, like I was at Death Knight and I didn't know how to play, and all of that was so confusing, and I dropped the game so quickly. Like in a week, I dropped the game or something. So, but that was the first time that I played WoW.
To the afterlife. In 2021, everyone calls in sick again to experience the Dark Portal one more time. In 2022, Arthas returns despite what Shadowlands just told us, and Dragonflight creates an entirely new audience. In 2023, Blizzard confuses everyone once more by
Okay, and also I play for the first time Classic WoW in the hardcore way in 23, and I really enjoy Classic WoW in hardcore in 23. So that was amazing. I mean, that was my first really fun and enjoying approach to WoW.
Dragonflight creates an entirely new audience. In 2023, Blizzard confuses everyone once more by making yet another version of Classic, and in 2024, they join the Battle Royale craze 7 years too late, bring back Benedict Cumberwing, and also drop the War Within expansion as the first of an upcoming 6-year trilogy that acknowledges the giant sword-shaped elephant in the room. You see, the game just keeps going and going. But the real question we all want to know is, why? The most obvious answer has always and will always come down to money, which when we do the math is kind of hard to argue. Assuming you've played from the day that the game released, bought every expansion, and never missed a month of subscriptions, you would have spent around $3,667.60, or when you account for the 20 years of compounding inflation, $4,968.38.
You what?
Except money isn't the cause, it's the result. Because the real answer is much simpler than that. Looking back, World of Warcraft is at its best when it focuses on core MMO gameplay with a grounded Warcraft story players can experience together. And it's clearly at its worst when it focuses on everything outside of that, like gimmicky systems, monetization, or endings that bring a smile to Disney. Yet at the heart of every good and less good expansion has always been the exact same thing. People. People who lined up hours at a midnight launch just to play early.
Waiting for the World of Warcraft expansion to come out.
Who collectively called in sick to go through the Dark Portal with everyone else.
So tonight I'm gonna buy it, go set it up, and play all night long.
Who started friendships with a simple wave. Who screened Leroy Jenkins. Who bought this specific mouse or built an overly expensive PC only to play this specific game. You see, it all comes down to people. Blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, celebrities, moms, dads, or people who use table salt to protest $25 mounts. Okay, maybe that was just Asmon. You see, it didn't matter if you liked cookies and cream or if you liked vanilla, because World of Warcraft was never just a game.
Like, sure, it's a job, sure, we got a company to run, we got a product to put out, but that's not the point.
I got like 7 of my friends in a while. My ex-girlfriend, emphasis on the ex.
Without the community, WoW just wouldn't be what it is.
I love WoW. I'll always love WoW.
I love World of Warcraft.
I will always love WoW.
WoW was like a huge part of who I was.
I am a WoW Andy through and through.
It's a place people could call home.
I'm a simple man, okay? I love World of Warcraft.
That's where I met my husband, actually.
Got a lot of memories attached to it.
And I go back to it all the time.
So I'm going to play WoW.
I'm gonna go home for the heck out of this thing.
It's that simple.
We're all kind of united by this space, you know, that we spend a lot of time in, and that's a very special thing.
And as long as that door stayed open,
I think you're going to be seeing pictures of me in this for quite a long time.
it'd always be unstoppable. Thank you guys so much for all of your support.
I didn't know all of the history, but I really think that I'm going to cry. I mean, all of the video was so sentimental, and all of it. Look at my face, it's red. I'm really trying to holding my tears that I touch my heart.
If you like this video, then you're definitely going to want to check out how Call of Duty became unstoppable next. As always, you're beautiful, you're goose-tastic, and keep it cute.
Oh my god, was such a good video. I can't believe it. All of the storytelling and sorry, and all of the, I don't know, all of the video is such a good obra. I don't know how to say this in English, but a piece, such a masterpiece, something like that. Oh my god, really, 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 I feel like the tear wants to out, but I was like the meme of I this movie of the meatballs, like Rain of Meatballs or something like that. I don't know how is the name of that movie in English, but when he going to cry and then come back the lagrimita and the little tear. Oh my god, this is such a good video. I can't believe it. 7 days released. Happy 20 years of World of Warcraft. Wow. Wow. Cloudy with a change of meatballs. Cloudy with a change of meatballs. It's better in Spanish.